Alright, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can create a winch like this where it's dragging a cube across the floor by a cable, and the cable's winding around a drum. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, I'm going to try to do this in one take without any cuts. Okay, I'm using Blender version 2.82. Now, the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and create the winch itself. So, I'm going to go ahead and add a mesh and a cylinder. Alright, I'm going to rotate that on the y-axis, or Y90, enter. And then I'm going to scale it on the x-axis, S for scale, x-axis, and then 3. And then press enter. Then press Ctrl A to apply the scale, and then press tab to go into edit mode. Now we want to add some loop cuts. Now we're going to add some loop cuts on near the edges. So come over here to your loop cut tool, click it, and then left click and bring it to drag it to about right there, and then left click and then bring this one, just right next to it. I'm going to go ahead and put this in orthographic view and press 1 to go on the front side view so we can see it more clearly. And then do the same thing for the other side. Put in a loop cut about right there, and then left click, drag, put another loop cut about right there. Alright, go ahead and click on your select box or whatever this is called so you can deactivate your loop cut. Now put this on wireframe and then put this on face select. Now just to make sure nothing is selected, press A twice until nothing is selected, and then press B for box select, the letter B, and then select these faces, and then B for box select, select these faces, and then press S for scale, and then Shift X 1.25, enter. And as you can see, what that done is basically create the edges. Alright, with a little bit of a slope to this part. And just to make it a little bit prettier, I guess you could say, right click this, or select this face, and then shift select this face so that both of them are selected. Press I for inset, and we need to inset these faces to about right there, and then come over here to the extrude, left click, hold down, and then come down here to individual faces, and then drag this till it's just inside, about like that, and then press I once again and insert it or inset it to about right there, and this right here will be our shaft. So we already have this selected, which is our individual face extrusion, so go ahead and drag this so that that comes out, and that's our shaft. See what I mean? Now press tab to exit edit mode, and we want to go ahead and build the stand that this winch drum will be in, or look like it's in rather. So I'm going to press 3 to go on the side view, and now I'm going to add I want to use a plane. Add mesh and then plane. Now I'm going to rotate that on the y-axis, R for rotate, Y for the y-axis, and then 90 degrees. Now we want to press tab to go into edit mode. Go ahead and press 7 so we can, well, before we do that, come over here, click on this to turn the extrusion off, and then press G for grab, and then X for the x-axis, and drag this over to about here so it's out of the way of this so we can actually see what we're doing. Now press 3 to go back into side view. Put this on edge select. Select this top face and press S for scale, and then just make it about that size. And then select this face and press E for extrude, Z for the Z axis, and then bring it down to about there. Alright, now press tab to exit edit mode, and we can, that's like one side of our I guess you could say the mechanism that holds the drum, I guess, but we need to add some thickness to this. So with that selected, click on the modifiers tab, add modifier, choose solidify, and then just drag this out until it looks about the right thickness. I'm going to leave it about right there, and then click apply. Now I'm going to press, I'm going to go back into edit mode, press A to select everything, and then press Shift D and then X for the X axis, and then just drag it over to about right there, and then that's our other side. Alright, press tab to exit edit mode. Alright, now let's go ahead and create the I guess you could say the tie down loop that the cable would appear to be connected to. So I'm going to press 7 to go on the top side view. I'm going to zoom in because I'm going to put this right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here in the center, just left click to move the origin point right there. It doesn't have to be exact, just pretty close to about this area. Now we're going to add mesh and then use a torus. Now I'm going to press 1 to go on the front side view, and then I'm going to rotate this torus on the x-axis. Rotate, R for rotate, X for the x-axis, and then 90. Enter. Alright. Now we'll go ahead and press first thing I'm going to do is press G for grab, and then Z for the Z axis, and just move it just above so we can see what we're doing better. Press tab to enter edit mode, and then put this on wireframe, and then put this on face select, and then press A twice so that nothing is selected, and then go ahead and press B for box select, and then select this entire area down here, and then press delete and choose faces. Now put it on edge select, and I'm just tilting this so you can see what we're doing. Press right click or left click, whatever your select is, but hold the alt key, alternate key down at the same time. Alternate right click for me, and then shift alt right click to select both, basically to select around. Alright, press 1 to go back into front view, and then press G for grab, and then Z for the Z axis, and then just extend that down about like that. Now press A to select everything, and press S for scale, and then just make that about that size, maybe a little bit smaller, probably about like there, and then press G for grab, Z for the Z axis, and then just bring it down so it's the ends of it is just barely, it's just inside of the cylinder. and just make this about, make the distance from here to here about the same distance as it is from here to here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can just eyeball it. Alright. Now, go ahead and press tab to exit edit mode. Go ahead and put this in solid view so we can see what's going on better. Now, with this ring selected, shift select the cylinder so that both of them are selected, and then press Control P to parent this object to the cylinder. Control P, object. Alright, so now this is a separate object from this, but this is parented to this, so it's going to sort of act like one object. Alright, so now I'm going to press 7 to go on the top side view, and with this ring selected, I'm going to press Shift S, and then cursor to selected. Well, that ain't right. For some reason my point of origin's way up here, so ignore what I just said. Select this ring thing, come up here to object, set origin to geometry, Control Z, object, set origin to geometry. I had that backwards. Alright, now press Shift S, cursor to selected. Alright. And the reason why I'm doing that is just so when we add the next object, it's mostly lined up where we need it to be. So let's add a cylinder, because the cylinder is going to be one of the links or one of the pieces of our cable, because we're going to use a rigid body cable that's held together with constraints, and that's what's going to make up the cable. So, but the cylinder itself isn't going to bend. It's not like a soft body or something like that. It's only going to bend where the constraints are at. So it's going to be made up of a whole bunch of different cylinders. So press Shift and then A, and then choose cylinder. Now your cylinder is huge, so go ahead and press, well, we don't want it to have this many faces, so right here change this to 8, just so it has less geometry to work with and it will actually calculate quicker. Now press S for scale, and then just make it about that size. Alright, now R for rotate, and then I believe that's the x-axis, R, X, and then 90, enter. Now press G for grab, Z for the z-axis, and then just put it about right in the center, and if you need to, just press S for scale and scale it up so it's actually looks like it's being held in place. Alright, now press Control A to apply the scale. Now, what we want to do at this point is go ahead and hide everything, hide the main cylinder and this little ring, which it's actually right here, and we're just doing that to get them out of the way. Alright, now press 7 to go on the top side view. Now what we want to do is we want to make this a rigid body object that we're going to duplicate. So go ahead and click on your physics properties, click rigid body, keep it set to active. Now the mass, turn it down to 0.01. Alright, and pretty much keep everything else the same. Now what you want to do is click on the materials tab. We want to go ahead and give this some material now, that way we don't have to mess with it later. We don't have to actually mess with the materials, just assign it a material. It just make it easier later. Alright, now let's just zoom in a little bit, because we want to duplicate this and just put it right next to it. So press Shift D and then Y, and then just drag this till it's almost touching. Not quite, just almost. Alright. And now just zoom way out and then press Shift R and just hold Shift R down until the cable gets about as long as you want. And if you look down here, you can see the number of objects there are. Now this is including everything, but there's so few objects in here that this, for the most part, represents the number of links. So just make that go up to about, let's just say 200, because 200 would be quick to calculate. Alright, now what we want to do is, let's go ahead and zoom in just enough so that all of these will fit in the window. Now press, let's see, yeah, you want to, press B for box select, and then box select around all of these so that all of them are selected. And then up here, click on Object, go to Rigid, where is it? Rigid Body, go down here to Connect, and it will take a few seconds after you click to connect. It will just kind of lock up, then it glitches like that. Then you see all these little constraints that I added. Now, we don't want these constraints to be all at one end. We want them to be in between each individual link. So, come down here to this panel and change it from fixed to point. And again, it will have a little bit of a delay whenever you click on point, because it's got to reconfigure all of them. And then change it from connection pattern, change it to chain by distance. And again, it's going to have a little bit of a delay. Alright, now that's what we want. Now, come back over here and turn your torus back on. That's our little ring that locks the cable in place. And then just right click on this one on the end, and then shift right click or shift select, however your select function is set up on your version of Blender. Just make sure that you select the ring second, and then press Control P and then parent to object, because now we can turn these cylinder back on. And now let me explain to you what I just done. This ring is parented to this cylinder, so that whenever this cylinder spins, this ring will spin with it. It will basically just stay in the same position relative to this cylinder. Now we parented this link to the ring so that this link will stay in the same location relative to this ring, regardless of where it's at. Now all of these individual links of this cable are connected together with a rigid body constraint. In these rigid body constraints, like I go ahead and select one, and if I click on the constraints button, you can see right here it's set to point. And point basically means it's just tying the points of origins together so that they maintain a certain distance from each other, but they are allowed to bend and flex in whichever angle the dynamics requires of it. I hope that makes sense. Alright, now we want to come over here to the Scene Properties tab, and right here, the Rigid Body World, open up this tab, and then turn the steps per second up to, let's say, about, let's say 240. That's about right. And then turn the solver iterations up to 30. And then what we need to do, we need to make this cylinder a rigid body object. Now, we have to make this cylinder, we can't actually, let me go here so I can show you what I'm talking about. With the cylinder selected, click on rigid body, and then keep this on active, but click it on animated. Now, there's several different options here. The default is convex hull. Convex hull will not work. And the reason why it will not work is because convex hull is almost as if shrink wrap was wrapped around this cylinder. And wherever that shrink wrap is, that's where the rigid body effect takes place. So if you could imagine, if you're looking on it, if shrink wrap was wrapped around it, the rigid body effects of this object would go from here to here. It wouldn't go down here. It would be going straight across. And then it would go from here down to here, over, and like that, because it's like something wrapped around it. Now, so we can't use that because the cable is actually going to be wrapping around the inner portion. And we can't exactly put it on cylinder because cylinder would treat almost exactly the same, except it would be flat going across like that, but it would actually come out like that and then down and then over, because it has to go from the widest part to the furthest out part in the shape of a cylinder. Now we don't want that either, so the other option is to put it on mesh. Now mesh, it takes the longest to calculate, but it actually calculates the rigid body effect based on the location of each individual face. And that's what we want, because it will calculate the rigid body effect just like you see this yellow outline, which is exactly what we want. Alright, now we do need to make sure one thing is make sure we didn't mess up in one place here. So press Control 1 to look at this from the back side, and then yeah, we must, or at least I did. See how we have this this one link right here actually intersecting this cylinder just a little bit? We can't do that. So go ahead and select this end link and press S for scale, and then just make it just a little bit smaller so it's not actually intersecting into the cylinder. Now since we changed the size of that one, press Control A to apply the scale. Alright, now we need to go ahead and add a floor. So we'll click on Add, Mesh, and then Plane. And then we'll just zoom out a little bit and we'll scale this up. That's probably about right. And then grab it on the Y-axis and then just move it to about there so that all the cable is basically over top the floor. Now press 3 to look at it from the side, and then press G for grab, and then Z for the Z-axis, and bring the floor down to about right there. Alright, now since we changed the size of the floor and the floor is going to be a physics object, we need to go ahead and press Control A to apply the scale. Alright, now click on the Physics Properties tab, click on Rigid Body, set the floor to passive because we want this floor to just basically hang there and be passive. We don't want it to fall with gravity. Alright, press 3, go in the side view, and then right click and select the cylinder. Alright, we're getting close. Now come over here to the Scene Properties tab, and then temporarily turn off the rigid body world. And we're only doing that temporarily to help prevent a crash. So we're going to animate this cylinder. Let's say we wanted to make 5 rotations in 250 frames. So, well, let's say 5 rotations. That should be about right for 250 frames. So, right here, with the cylinder selected, click on Item, and then click on or press I while hovering over the rotation to set a keyframe. Now, go to the end of the frame 250 by clicking that, and then press R for rotate, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it doesn't have to be an exact amount. And then hover over it, press I to add another keyframe. Now, if we go back to the beginning and then we press play, well, that ain't right. That's definitely not right. Alright. This is one of the things you run into. And whenever you try to do these in one take without edits, this kind of stuff you run into. So I'm going to go ahead and hover over that and press Alt-I to remove that keyframe. Now I'm going to do this a little bit different. I'm going to just adjust this and see which axis is actually controlling that. See, you would think that that would have been the x-axis, but no, so I'm going to right click to ignore. And then I'm going to do this one. Left click. Nope, that ain't it, so I'm right click to ignore. So apparently it's z-axis. Apparently not. That is so weird. This is one of those things that doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this keyframe also. And this is one of those weird situations that I try to avoid by, applying the scale and stuff like that. So in this case, I need to press Control A and then apply the rotation. Alright, now if I rotate this on the x-axis, now it works right. Alright, so let's start over, and hopefully that did not confuse you that much. Alright, now I'm going to press I to insert a keyframe. And then I'm going to go into press 3 to go into side view, and then go to the end, which is frame 250, and then press R for rotate, and just go 1, 2. Well, let me try this again. Zoom out just a hair because I'm going off screen, so it's messing me up. I'm probably confusing you to death, so I'm sorry about that. Let's try again. I got this keyframe set here, and then press R for rotate, and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't have to be exact. And then press I to set that keyframe. Alright, now it should rotate correctly. Simple enough, right? Sorry I probably confused you, but it's just one of those things. Normally, if I wasn't trying to do this in one take, I would have cut all that out so that y'all would think I'm smarter than I really am. Alright, now I think we're good to go. But before we actually try to simulate this, go up to File and save it, because you will, just in case you don't want it to actually crash and then lose all your work. So I'm just going to name it tutorial. Alright, now turn rigid body world back on, And then if everything works, if I press play, it should roll the cable up onto the cylinder. And it broke. Alright, now what do we need to do to fix this? Oh, now yeah. That's right, I made a boo-boo. Right click on this link. I forgot, we cannot parent. Yeah, actually we can. Ignore what I just said. With this one selected on the end, we need to change the physics settings on it. We need to change it to animated, because it's animated not based on keyframes, but animated based on the parenting. So now if we press play, there we go. Now of course it's kind of building up on the chain, or on the cable. It's wrapping around in the wrong direction, or not the wrong direction, but it's coming over to the right, coming over this way instead of this way. Alright, so we need to, the best way to solve this problem is with a hidden object. So I'm going to press 7 to go on the top side view, and then I'm going to press add mesh and then add a plane. Now I'm just going to scale this on the x-axis, S for scale, x-axis, just make it about that size, and then rotate it on the x-axis, rotate x 90. Alright, and then just grab it and put it about right there, and then rotate it about right there, and then grab it and move it to about right there. Now what we're going to do, because see this, let me press 3 to go on the side view, and I'm going to, let me move this a little bit more, grab it and move it to about right there. Alright, now press Control A and then apply the scale. Now click on this button, it's Object Properties button, and then put it on Visibility, or click on the Visibilities tab. Show in Renders, uncheck that. We leave Show in Viewport turned on, that way we can see it, but it will not show up in the renders. Alright, now click on the Physics Properties, or yeah, the Physics tab, and then click on Rigid Body, and then click on Animated. Now press 7 to go on top side view, and make sure you're in frame 1, and I'll hover over location and press I. Now go to frame 10 and then press G for grab, X for the x-axis, and then just drag it to about right there, and then press I. And basically all that's doing is between frame 1 and 10, this moves over and pushes the cable over so it starts wrapping around, going this way instead of bunching up on itself. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and press File, Save, and then press play once more, and if I did everything correctly, it should work better. There we go. Much better. Alright, and I guess that's pretty much it. Now that we already have the cable, each individual link already has a material, you can select one of the cable links and adjust the material. You can give it kind of a grayish color and give it a metallic, and keep the roughness probably kind of high. And make the cylinder, give it a brownish color so that it's kind of like wood. Of course, these are very basic textures because I'm not trying to be complicated on that. I'm going to make this just a really dark gray, and make the floor, make it a real light gray, and then make the roughness kind of smooth so there's a little bit of a reflection. And then that's pretty much it. Not perfect, but I mean, it's mostly a learning process, and if you can do this part, you can adapt it to whatever you need. And just for an example here, now I'm going to go ahead and press 3 to go in side view. I'm going to go down here to the end, and then I'm going to select this end piece. Now I'm going to add mesh, and then I'm going to use the default cube. Pardon me. That ain't what I meant to do, but we'll do it anyway. Now select this one again, press Shift S, and then cursor to selected, and then select this cube and press Shift S, selection to cursor, and then I'm just going to press G for grab, and then Y for the Y-axis, and then just move it to about right there. Now I'm going to make this cube, let's see, click on the Physics Properties tab, click Rigid Body, and I'm just going to keep this at 1 kilogram. And I'm going to put this on, now I'm going to leave it just like that. Now I'm going to, with the cube selected, shift and then select this end piece also, and then go up to object, and then rigid body, and choose connect, and then right here make sure it's on point and chain by distance. Now if I've done this correctly, it should be like the cable is pulling this cube. So let's see. And then I'm kind of curious what it's going to do at the end. Oh, just pulled it right to it, and that's it. But see, that's not, the physics on it actually doesn't look half bad. Now obviously the cube is kind of light and it's moving real easy. So let's, just for fun, because this tutorial is more than just a training thing, it's also for fun. Because I mean, if Blender isn't fun, then what's the point? Alright, with the cube selected, let's make it heavier. Let's make it 10 times heavier. So put it at 10 kilograms. And let's just see what it does. Apparently the cable is stretching. Yeah, you can see the cable stretching a little bit. The individual links are stretching. Now let's turn the weight of the cube up again. Let's turn it up to 100 so it's 10 times heavier again. Now it should definitely stretch a lot now. Ooh, look at it stretching. Alright, now the question may be, how can we keep it from stretching that much? Come over here to the Scene Properties tab and set the solver iterations to, let's say, 300, and then we'll try it again. Still stretching. Alright, now let's turn this up, let's say 480. Now see how much slower it's simulating, but it's pulling it like it should, and it's not stretching as much. And it actually looks like it's heavier now. Let's see what it looks like up this way. Yeah, see, that actually looks halfway decent. The cube actually looks like it's heavy, looks like it's actually being pulled. But yeah, I mean, if you have any questions about how to go about doing this, if I didn't explain stuff clear enough, or if I just totally confused you, because, again, no cuts. But anyway, don't forget to leave a comment if you have a question, or if you just want to, leave a comment. Anyway, that's all. Later, people.